Norse mythology is brutal. I don't know about you, but the deeper I went into these stories, the more I felt myself getting pulled into their world. Most ancient civilizations feared gods. But Vikings? Man, they had other problems. And that brings me to a simple question for you. If you lived back then, which of these 5 things would scare you the most? Because what you're about to see isn't fantasy. Vikings took them seriously. A corpse that doesn't stay in the grave, and a serpent so large it circles the entire world. Alright, let's dive into the first one. 1. The Draugr, the undead that walk. The Draugr was one of the most feared beings in Viking belief. People described it as a corpse that didn't rot and didn't stay still. Its skin was dark blue or almost black. Its body looked swollen and full of strength. Some sagas even say its eyes glowed in the dark. A Draugr wasn't random. It usually got up with a goal. It attacked people it hated while alive, defended treasure buried with it, or punished anyone who disturbed its grave. There are stories of houses being damaged, animals going missing, and people being crushed or thrown around. The sagas also mention that the smell around a Draugr was awful, strong enough to make people sick. And its weight was insane. Some stories say it was so heavy that even several men couldn't move it. This fear led Vikings to use real techniques to stop corpses from rising, tying limbs with special knots so the body couldn't move, placing iron on the chest, sealing the grave with heavy stones, nailing the body into the ground, and driving spikes through people known to be violent. These methods weren't rituals to honor the dead. They were precautions to prevent the dead from standing up again. To the Vikings, the Draugr was a real threat, something you had to keep under control even after death. 2. Fenrir, the wolf destined to kill Odin. Fenrir is the son of Loki and the giantess Angerboda. From birth, the gods were already nervous. A prophecy said Fenrir would kill Odin at Ragnarok, and the gods didn't waste time worrying. They took action. They raised Fenrir themselves, hoping he wouldn't become violent, but he grew fast, too fast. Chains meant to restrain him snapped immediately. Every attempt failed, and it wasn't even close. So the gods asked the dwarves for help. The dwarves were the best creators in their world. They made a rope called Gleipnir, small, soft, and harmless looking. But it was stronger than any chain ever made. It was crafted from 6 impossible ingredients: the sound of a cat's footstep, a woman's beard, a fish's breath, a bird's spit, a bear's sinews, and the roots of a mountain. These ingredients were chosen because they basically don't exist in a normal way. This made Gleipnir impossible to break. Fenrir didn't trust the gods. He said he would only test the rope if a god put a hand in his mouth. Nobody moved, except Tyr. Fenrir let them put the rope on him. The moment he realized he couldn't break it, he bit off Tyr's hand. Fenrir was left chained far away from everything. But the prophecy never changed. When Ragnarok begins, Fenrir breaks free and kills Odin in battle. The gods delayed the outcome, but they couldn't change it. 3. Hel, the ruler of the ordinary dead. Hel is another child of Loki and Angerboda. Odin sent her to Niflheim because he believed she would cause problems. There she became ruler of Helheim, the place where people went if they didn't die heroically. Hel's appearance matched her role. One half of her body looked normal. The other half looked dead. This wasn't meant as a metaphor, it was just how the sagas described her. Most Vikings didn't die in battle. They died from sickness, age, accidents, or bad luck. So most people ended up in Helheim. Helheim was described as cold, silent, and isolated. Hel's hall, El Judnir, had walls and gates that separated the dead from the living. She didn't torture anyone. She simply ruled them and maintained order. During the Ragnarok, Hel opens her gates and sends the dead to join Loki. Hel shows a simple part of Viking belief. The afterlife wasn't glorious for most people. It was just the next place they went. 4. The Wild Hunt, riders in the winter storms. The Wild Hunt was believed to happen during strong winter storms. People said they heard a group of riders moving across the sky, loud, fast, and violent. In many versions, Odin leads the hunt with wolves, ravens, and fallen warriors. In other versions, someone else leads, like a king or a hero. But the idea stays the same. The hunt is something you don't want to see. The belief was simple. If the riders noticed you, they might take you with them. Some stories say into the storm, others say into the realm of the dead. Either way, people stayed indoors during harsh weather. This belief lasted for centuries across northern Europe. For Vikings, storms weren't just dangerous because of the cold. They also carried the fear of something supernatural moving through the sky. 5. Jörmungandr, the serpent that surrounds the world. Jörmungandr is the Midgard serpent. Odin threw it into the ocean when it was still young because he didn't want it near the land. But the serpent grew without stopping. It became so large it could circle the entire world and hold its own tail. Nothing else in Norse mythology reached this size. Its movement affected everything around it. Waves rose anytime it shifted. Storms formed from its motion. The ocean reacted as if something massive lived below it. Even though it stayed deep underwater, the world above felt its presence. In one story, Thor visited a giant's hall. They gave him a cat to lift as a challenge. The cat was actually Jörmungandr in disguise. Thor lifted only one paw, and even that caused disruption because the serpent's true size was beyond anything normal. During Ragnarok, Jörmungandr rises from the sea and releases venom that poisons the sky. Thor fights it and kills it, but the venom kills him soon after. Jörmungandr wasn't just big, it was a threat to the entire world. Vikings didn't treat these as entertainment. They treated them as part of how their world worked. That's it for now. You looped in time again. Hit subscribe and like for part 2. See you in the next one.